21st Tourism Advisory Committee for 2022. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Heather Morrison. I am the Grey County Clerk here. I will call the meeting to order and confirm that we do have quorum. We have 5 of 7 members here, with regrets from Andrew and Andrea. First item of business is to elect a chair and a vice chair for the committee for the remainder of the year. So I will open the floor up for nominations for chair. Councillor Carleton.
I would nominate Joel Dawson.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hutchinson, thank you. Do I have any other nominations for chair? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please, to close nominations? Councillor Carleton, thank you. Joel, are you willing to stand for chair of the Tourism Advisory Committee?
Where's Joel?
Sorry, Joel, I see that you're off mute, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't expect that. So, yeah, sure. I'll accept that.
All right. Excellent. Thank you very much. So Joel Dawson will be acclaimed as the chair of the Tourism Advisory Committee for 2022. I'll now open the floor up for nominations for vice chair. Anyone?
No.
Councillor Hutchinson.
Everybody's bashful this morning, clerk. I'll nominate Jim Halliday as our vice chair.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Carleton, thank you. Any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, can I have a motion, please, to close nominations? Councillor Hutchinson, thank you. Mr. Halliday, are you willing to stand for vice chair?
I hope so, yes.
Thank you very much. I will note then that Jim Halliday was acclaimed as the vice chair. Thank you all. And Chair Dawson, I will hand the meeting over to you. Tara and I are here if you need any assistance during the meeting. Okay,
perfect. I'm sure I'll have lots of questions about
no worries.
Order and all that stuff. So we're at the declaration of interest. So that'd be the declaration of pecuniary interest, I guess. Does anybody have anything to declare?
No.
No? All right. I guess, can we move on from that then?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'm just looking at the agenda here. So I guess we're moving on to the delegation part. So we have some information from Patty. Sorry, my cool. So what do I do there? I just invite Patty to take the floor?
Exactly right. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Patty, why don't you take the floor?
Thanks, Joel. Thank you for having me. I am the Director of Marketing and Events for the Blue Mountain Village Association, for those of you who I haven't had the pleasure of meeting before. And we are launching a new film festival, the Blue Mountain Film Festival, July. I wish it was July, June 1st to 5th. So just 3 weeks away. This is an international film festival with about almost $1 million budget. It's I wouldn't say it's not stressful at this point in time, but we are so excited and also thankful to Grey County for supporting this initiative. We started down this road several years ago, actually. It all began really when we had in 2017, the first Netflix production in the area, and they approached us and did a production at Blue Mountain. At that point in time, we recognized how important this industry is to our region to attract more film production to the area. So Marnie Moreau, who is contracted by Blue Mountain Resorts, sort of led this project to work with the industry in Toronto to try to attract more film production in the area. So she's been working on that for several years. And through all of those conversations and work with the industry, came about this idea and concept for a film festival in the area. So we did a strategic plan for this about a year and a half ago, I think. And here we are today about to launch this International Film Festival. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a flavor of what this is. We expect that this is going to grow into the largest event tourism driver in the region. And we expect it's going to spill out into like Meaford Hall and Collingwood. And as Collingwood grows, it's arts and culture. And this really is an arts and culture initiative. It's 5 days from June 1st to 5th. 25 international and Canadian films. And I'm going to introduce Helen, our executive and artistic director, in a moment, and she can give you more about what the programming is. We also have a 3-day industry forum that is part of this. So 4 filmmakers will be sponsoring a few local filmmakers to come to the forum. And that runs from the Wednesday to Saturday morning. So we're excited to get our community involved in this event, our industry community involved in this event as well. So there are several different ways everyone can support. Please follow our social. Please share our social. It's Blue Mountain Film Fest, bluemtnfilmfest.ca, and I can send that information out. Sign up for our newsletter and just share information about this festival. As you can imagine, it's first year. It's a really difficult to break through the noise and get people to understand what we're doing. So we really appreciate everyone's support in that. So the programming was released on Friday. We're working with a PR agency that specializes in the film industry. We're working with an agency, a creative agency that also specializes in the industry. So we have quite a bit out there. We've had some really good media coverage internationally and from some of the big industry players like Playback. We are working with Chorus Entertainment, and they're sponsoring. So we're on right now on, we've got a big push out on Global, Q107, 640. We are expecting that ET Canada will be here for the event. We have a full lineup of parties and free entertainment as well that goes along with this. So it's exciting. And we're really excited to be working with Helen Dutoit, who is our executive and artistic director. Helen comes to us she's originally from Toronto, has worked on TIFF, is very connected with the industry in Toronto, but she was also the executive director for the Palm Springs Film Festival for 10 years. So we're really thrilled to have her in our community. She's actually just bought a house and moved to Clarksburg. So she's very much part of our community. So I'm going to pass it over to Helen so she can give you more of the flavor of the programming and what to expect.
Well, thanks, Patty. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you virtually. I guess I'll tell you a little bit about the film festival and maybe a little bit about my background so you sort of understand where I'm coming from. So as Patty said, I've worked for various film festivals, including the Toronto International Film Festival, Edinburgh in Scotland, Vancouver, Seattle, and Palm Springs. And in Palm Springs, I was the artistic director there for over a decade. And one of the key things that we did in Palm Springs is Palm Springs started in 1990 when Sonny Bono was mayor of Palm Springs. And he knew at the time that he needed to do something as mayor to bring more people to the region. So he turned to the manager of Sonny and Cher and asked him to launch a film festival there, which he did. And it started very small. It eventually ended up becoming the biggest tourism driver in the city of Palm Springs. And I mean, that took some years, obviously, to accomplish that. But it's the kind of thing that if you know that going into this, you would hopefully recognize that from small things, from investing in small things and supporting them, they can grow into something that's very big and has a lot of give back to the community in terms of the economic impact. Anyway, what the key thing that when I was the artistic director there, the key thing that I came to realize is that film festivals are an incredible opportunity for people to get together, to share their passion about cinema, but also to connect with people from around the world. There's something really magical, I think, that happens when you are watching stories, because when we watch the news, we see headlines. And those headlines are very reductive. We don't really get a sense of the human behind the stories. So when you attend a film festival, it's not like going to a Hollywood blockbuster film. You're seeing smaller international films where they are stories, very heartfelt stories from all around the world. And so if you haven't been able to travel over the last few years, like so many people, this is an opportunity for you to travel around the world from the comfort of the Blue Mountain Village and get back in contact with what is happening around the world. So I don't know if any of you have been to a film festival before. Can you, if you have, can you just, yeah, oh, great. So Kim, which festival did you go to? You're on mute.
We've been to TIFF, we've been to Meaford as well.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic! I've heard great things about the Meaford Film Festival too. So, so yeah, that's well, you get a sense there's an energy that comes behind a film festival, and and so that's what we're hoping to bring to this region as well. So, if you can help us reach out to your constituents, that's something that will make an immense difference. One thing that I would say about my programming approach is that 20% of the films that we have in the festival are Canadian and the rest are international screenings. So they come from Morocco, from Chile, from all over the world, from China, and all over Europe, and from Scandinavia, and there's some documentaries mixed in with some narratives. There's a really wonderful documentary that's actually made by a Canadian director called Navalny, which is obviously about the opposition leader, Putin's opposition leader, who was poisoned, as you all would have seen on the news. But it's a fascinating documentary, and we're so excited that it's by a Canadian director. There's another really wonderful film that was premiered at the Sundance Film Festival this year called Fire of Love, also by it's a Canadian-US co-production, that film, and it's a love story between two scientists whose specialty is volcanoes. They travel all around the world, so it's a love story about them, but it's also about their love for volcanoes. And it's it screened at the Hot Docs Festival. It's really great. We're launching the festival with a Canadian film by an Inuit director called Naila Inuksuk, and the film is called Slashback, and it's about a bunch of teenage girls in an Inuit town taking on some Inuit-inspired aliens. It's great fun. And then there's another really lovely film called Carmen that is a Canadian film that is set in Malta by a Canadian director, following, I don't know if you know the actress Natasha McElhone, who was, once you see her, you'll recognize her immediately. She has the most extraordinary cheekbones I've ever seen in my life. And then there is another Canadian film that is by somebody who's something of a local filmmaker. Her name is Rita Leisner, and she did a film called Forest for the Trees. And it is a beautiful, beautiful film about tree planting. And it's got a local component because Rita spent all of her winters growing up in this region. So anyway, combined with many films from around the world, with a few filmmakers who are coming. Obviously, as I'm sure you can appreciate, during COVID, it's difficult to get people to fly internationally, but we do have a few filmmakers coming, and one who's the director of a film called The Albanian Virgin, and the other one who is coming from Morocco for a wonderful film, a music film called Casablanca Beats. So anyway, that's just a bit of flavor for the film festival. We hope that you can make it, and also that you can help us spread the word to your constituents. If any of you have any questions, I would be very happy to answer them. So please let me know.
I have a question. How do you select the films?
So I've been programming in film festivals for over 25 years. And so I have a lot of relationships with international sales agents. You may not know sort of how the film world works. The individual rights to a film are held initially by the producer, but then they bring on an international sales agent who helps them sell it around the world. And all of the different territories have individual distributors. So in some cases, I go to the Canadian distributors, and in other cases, if there's not a Canadian distributor, I go to the international sales agent. And in a few cases, I go directly to the producer if they haven't yet sold the rights to the film to either an international sales agent or a local distributor. It's really very much based on relationships. The former head of programming at the Toronto International Film Festival, Diana Sanchez, is consulting for us as well. So she and I have together put the program together. And is really what we do is we reach out to, we know what the buzz is in terms of what the good films are, and we watch them. So in order to put together these 25 films, between the two of us, we've probably seen 300 feature films. And to get down to this, but we've also been very careful to go toward the films that we know there's good buzz around. A friend of mine who's a programmer who's been in this, and a film critic who's been in the business for a number of years, when we announced our program, he said that this was one of the strongest program he's ever seen, because we only have 25 slots. We're filling them with 25 good films rather than 150 slots where there's still 25 films and others that you have to kind of surf through to get to the good ones. So we're quite confident that the programming is strong, and are hopeful that the public will think so too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Kim.
First of all, Patty and Helen, kudos to you for creating an online presence that's so clear and accessible and easy to navigate. Like it's really, it's very easy and very straightforward to get where you wanted to go. So that's wonderful, because sometimes that's not the case. Wonderful films. I'm going to have to find vacation time to attend some because it looks great. But Patty, maybe you could tell a little bit, where are these being screened? Like I wasn't familiar.
That's the biggest question.
That they had that facility.
Yeah, that is actually the biggest question from the community, because we're not known for that.
Yeah.
So Blue Mountain Resort has graciously donated the conference center for this initiative. Okay. So we're turning 2 of the ballrooms into quite spacious, high-tech cinema rooms. Mm-hmm. So we actually have projectionists that do TIFF and other big festivals coming for this film festival. So there's room to spread out. It's not going to be in cramped quarters, and I know that's important to people right now. But it is all in the films themselves. Yes. Are in the conference center. So they run all day for the 5 days from morning to night. Mm-hmm. And the schedule is staggered. So you can, and there are 25 films, but there are multiple screenings of some. So there are about 40 screenings throughout the 5 days.
Oh, I'm so excited. Thanks.
Oh.
Jim, I think you're.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. I actually had a question for Helen. I personally have never been to a film festival before, but it's one of those things that is definitely on the bucket list. But I'm one that's always kind of concerned with metrics. And I would imagine that in a film festival, one of the goals that you strive for is to have a director debut their film at your film festival. Mm-hmm. Like that to me seems like something that would be a a goal, right? How long do you think it would take for something like that to happen in Collingwood or Blue Mountains?
Well, I think the answer to that is it depends on what happens with COVID. I mean, film festivals traditionally are very much live events with live guest speakers. That is absolutely the primary goal. During COVID, it's one of those things. When we started planning this a year ago, I think everybody was optimistic that that things with COVID would lift, and they have somewhat, as we all know from government regulations shifting accordingly. But that's something that all live events are very much at the mercy of. And so I think the answer is in years to come, we will have as many guest speakers as we possibly can. And the goal is to have at least one guest with each screening. But at the moment, that has proven very challenging. We have 2 guests flying in from overseas, and then beyond that, we have the Canadian film guest with their screenings. So that is a bit of a challenge for us, but something that I've found from other events that audiences are very forgiving of that, because they understand that there's only so much we can do on that front. However, nevertheless, it's like there's still a real energy that comes from the audience seeing the films together and discovering really new stories. I think it's interesting. When I was at the Palm Springs Film Festival for many years, my parents came down after years of me working in film festivals and them always wondering when I was going to get a real job. One year, they actually came down to the Palm Springs Film Festival, and they couldn't believe how much fun it was. And my parents, who, maybe see 4 or 5 films a year in a theater, ended up sneaking off to box office and buying extra tickets without letting me know. And the next year I got them a pass, and they saw, I think, 32 films, and they would write me little critiques after the films, sort of letting me know what they thought about it. So it turned my parents into avid film fans. And my mother is continually calling me, say, what should I watch on Netflix now? And she means in terms of international cinema, because that's their new passion. So it's the people who you least expected of turn into avid film fans. And absolutely having a guest experience is a huge bonus. But seeing these films that otherwise are very difficult to find is also a very big bonus in and of itself. Sue, you had a question? I think you're here.
I do. And thank you. Excellent presentation. And I think this is going to be a real benefit to the area. My question, I guess, concerns the producers of these films. I'm assuming there is a huge benefit to them to getting onto one of these film festivals and is it an opportunity for them to get their name out there, or what's the benefit from their point of view? Why would they do this?
Well, there are a few things. One is that I think when anybody makes a film, the reason they do it is because they really believe in the material that they're creating, and they want to connect with audiences. So that's the primary motive in the first place. But of course, it's an expensive art form. It's not like you're making a painting in your own studio garage. You are actually creating something that requires a massive team to come together in order to create this. And the resources required to make it are very steep. So of course, there's an economic imperative for the producers as well. So producers need to finance the films, and sometimes they manage to finance it, but then they need to pay off the investors in the film as well. So we pay film fees to all of the filmmakers. So, it's not that that's the incentive. First, they want to connect with audiences, but secondly, of course, they want to recover some of their costs. So film festivals actually have been an enormous help to distributors as well, because in the past, they didn't usually make that much money from film festivals because they usually comped film festivals. But over time, that's changed a little. The structure of that has changed a little because they've realized that in order to connect with audiences on some of their international titles, they need to go directly to the audience. And those are relationships that film festivals have themselves. So there's a kind of there can either be a cost sharing model or a rental fee for the films. So connecting with the audiences and money. Anyone else?
Go ahead, Allison.
Hi, Helen. Could you possibly speak to the opportunities that this also provides to the local filmmakers in Grey County, particularly through the Creative Forum? I know we've focused on the film aspect, and I mean, it's so exciting bringing that to the county, but similar to TIFF, there's a great opportunity there as well. I was wondering if you could speak to that.
Absolutely. Thanks. Good question. So in the world of cinema, as a filmmaker, it's, as I said earlier, it's a little different than working on your own. It's very much a bringing people together to get a project off the ground. And the relationships that we have as individual filmmakers are a real game changer in terms of our ability to finance and a film and get it made. So that is a key thing that we're trying to do is attract some Toronto industry up to Blue Mountain. This year, because of COVID issues, it is a big challenge for us on that front. It's a challenge for multiple organizations. Some organizations are setting up a hybrid model where they have a virtual component as well as a live component, and some are actually converting just to a virtual component because there's still some fear around that kind of thing. But the key thing is any way in which we can facilitate local filmmakers meeting with other filmmakers and inspire them through films is something that we really want to do. We want to make the locals feel connected to the international filmmaking community. So there are multiple ways in which they can do that. At our forum, we are creating sort of social opportunities for people, because in my experience, like I go to the Cannes Film Festival every year, except this year and last year because of COVID. But I go to the Cannes Film Festival regularly, and what I find is that it's at the screenings where you see a film, you love it, and you come out so excited, you end up talking to a total stranger about it. Turns out they might be an investor, or they might be a studio or whatever. So that's a relationship born of the shared love of cinema. And then there's the other side where you're actually going to industry events together, or truth be told, going to cocktail parties where you can just hang out and have fun together. And I often find that it's the social situations that make for the best friendships that grow into business relationships. When it starts from a social side, it's a much more natural way into a business relationship, because it takes down that awkwardness where you want something from each other if you're just raising a glass together. So there are multiple ways in which we're trying to service the local filmmakers and help them feel more connected to the broader community.
Can I just add one more last plug that if you're interested, sign up for our newsletter, the Blue MTN Film Fest, for 10% off your ticket packs.
Mr. Chair, I don't see any more questions.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. That's really exciting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully getting out and seeing some of these films. Yeah, so thank you very much, Helen and Patty. Yeah, so let's, if there's no further questions or comments on that, then we'll move on to the reports. So the first one looks like is from Economic Development. So yeah, let's move on to that.
So before Savannah and Steve present the report, you will need to ask for a mover and a seconder for the recommendation.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so is there a mover for the recommendation there?
I will move.
I saw Sue first, and then a seconder.
Mr. Halliday, will you second?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you. All right, now you can pass over to Savannah and Steve, and they'll present the report.
Okay, so yeah, let's move on to Savannah and Steve. I'll invite you to take the floor.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. And thank you so much, Patty and Helen, for the delegation. We see so much potential and opportunity here with the film festival, and really happy that we're able to support. So Steve and I are going to tag team an update for you, just to kind of bring you up to speed on where things are at with tourism and some of the experiences that we're seeing right now, and some of the shifts that we did propose through the 2022 budget and were approved. So I will start, and then I'll hand it over to Steve if that works. So as you know, in the conversations that we had at the end of last year and at the beginning of this year, we were really looking to take an opportunity in 2022 to shift the tourism work that we've been doing based on all of the feedback that we've been hearing over the last couple of years through the pandemic, from our committees, from our businesses, and from visitors themselves. And we were fortunate enough that that was approved through council and the budget process, and work plans have ensued since. So we took the opportunity to shift towards an infrastructure and investment side of tourism, more so than the marketing in the past. But I do want to make sure that everyone knows the marketing is still happening, and Heather is going to speak to that this morning as well. But what we've seen is a real collective effort on the tourism side of things. So rather than, it being a standalone tourism department, we're seeing tourism, economic development, transportation, communications, and planning all come together to focus on some of the challenges that we're facing and the opportunities that we have when we bring all of those expertise together. So it has really taken a good shape, and we've been so fortunate to be able to do that internally through Grey County staff, because now we're able to do more and we're able to better understand where we take those next steps. So tourism's changed significantly through the pandemic. Our outdoor spaces are at complete capacity. They're a major concern for almost every stakeholder we talk to in terms of the stewardship and the sustainability of those outdoor spaces. But at the same time, our tourism operators and local business has suffered significant loss from restrictions and shutdown. And we know that it is an industry that is going to take a while to climb back. We do see moments of real light where things are picking back up again, but it's going to take a while to be able to find that support and find that strength again after being basically shut down for 2 years. We've also seen some major projects in that multi-departmental collaboration, like I just said, but even more so externally, where the OMG group, it's the Outdoor Management Group, and OMG is our very quick way of saying it. That group was pulled together by Brian just before his retirement to really make sure that we had the people around the table who are experiencing these things every day, who are the decision makers, and who are the policy setters when it comes to outdoor tourism space. And we did attach the terms of reference so you can see what that makeup of that group looks like. We have, let me just talk a little bit about, we've got provincial government, local government, conservation authorities, trail organizations, and private businesses all sitting around the table, having these conversations and identifying those priorities and those pain points so that we can work together to put our resources together and actually see some changes. No, it has not been an easy feat by any means, and that's something that Steve will talk a little bit more about. There are a lot of challenges when it comes to addressing these infrastructure and investment opportunities, because we have so many different landowners involved, multiple stakeholders, Ministry of Natural Resources, conservation authorities, trail user groups, and private landowners. It's not kind of a one-shot deal when it does come to finding these investment solutions. And approval processes will also take significant time, in part because the land is regularly located in hazard lands. So we had great ideas for some parking improvements. And when we brought the transportation department with us, they said, well, if you do that, it's going to be in the river in the spring. And we don't want to see that type of investment happen where we lose it. So there are some real challenges, but we are a committed group, and we are, all eyes forward, trying to figure out where we go from here. And there's some opportunities to get some studies done and to get that feasibility work done so that we have a broader picture for areas like the CP Rail, Collapore, Beaver River, Hogs Falls, Metcalf Rock. We know there are more, but that's the type of lens that we're applying right now. Is we're not looking at one location at a time. We're trying to look at it as a full system and to be able to make those changes. In terms of tourism investment, we've also seen significant investment in the last couple of years, where we assisted Georgian Bluffs, who sold the airport. And that happened in December. In January, the municipality of West Grey sold their municipally owned Talisman lands and form a golf course. Staff also assisted Grey Highlands in the investment strategies and linking opportunities for downtown redevelopment. Grey County is investing in the inaugural Blue Mountains Film Festival because we really see an opportunity there, especially through the industry forum, to leverage attraction and retention opportunities, which fits perfectly with the investment strategy that was just endorsed by the Economic Development and Planning Committee last week. Staff have partnered with Russ Gray to develop a business mix analysis to better support attraction retention efforts in downtowns, and as well as marketing efforts. And Meaford and Owen Sound projects will be underway next in 2022. And staff are also assisting Hanover with exploring hotel investment opportunities based on the hotel feasibility study that they've completed in the past. So that's a highlight of some of the investment work that is happening on the tourism front. And as I mentioned, our Grey County investment strategy was endorsed last week by committee, so it will be going to council, I believe, end of May to be endorsed formally there as well. And then we can really get to work on more investment side of things, which Steve is also heading up. So I will be quiet now for a moment and hand it over to him so he can fill the gaps. And then we'll talk a little bit more about the marketing side.
What gaps? You pretty well covered it pretty well, Savannah. Let me just comment on our green spaces. You know, we at the start of COVID, which is not just 12 months ago, it seems like it's been going on forever. Things really shifted, and obviously some of our more popular day use areas, and they were mentioned there, they were holding their own, but because of COVID, they got inundated. And when we say that, if you've been, I don't know if you've all been to Hogs Falls. I hadn't been, so I went out and looked, and I was expecting a parking lot that was a lot bigger because they would normally say there'd be 60 to 80 cars. So when we talk about a crowded space, we're talking about a space that emergency vehicles can't get on the road because people are parked all over the road. So we have some real, it's a tourism product issue, but it's also a liability concern or safety concern. And it's not just at Hogs. So there's a lot of good work going on. And then when we go and visit and we talk to all the stakeholders and we get we've gotten some really good feedback from everybody, including the private sector. But then you got to take a step back and say, what are the short-term things we can do, signage and things like that, porta potties. And then what are the longer term? And it's the longer term solutions that are just, we're going to have to take a little bit step back and take a more broader view of it. And Savannah mentioned that looking at some funding to do some broader studies. And it may be that, some of the locations will need additional locations, additional parking. But it also is dealing with the landowners like M&R that really, they own the land, but they really don't have resources to manage it. And so we've written them a letter. We're waiting back. I'll probably nudge them along to see what they say about that. But we do have another tour planned of our day use areas and are working with the member municipalities to understand what the best solution is, both short-term and long-term. And of course, the ambassador program is going out as well. And then the cycling signage will be happening later. The signs have been ordered, and our transportation department, we're meeting with them this afternoon to see when that'll get rolled out. And of course, tourism investment I think there's a huge opportunity to continue attracting regional drivers. And I think when we talk about the broader investment strategy, we talk about unique value propositions. And it's really kind of neat when you think about the film festival and you think about what the unique value proposition is with Blue Mountains. Like one of the, in my mind anyway, people might argue this, but I think Blue Mountains has an incredible awareness, name recognition in the GTA. And so a film festival just plays right to that advantage. So I think it's great and a great opportunity. And so we kind of want to look for other opportunities like that. And, the Wyerton Airport, I think, is another great opportunity. Mr. Smith he's quite a very interesting fellow and has some really interesting plans. So I think, there's another asset that I'm really pleased that Georgian Bluffs was able to keep that going and make that happen. So as well as Talisman and some of the other opportunities. So is there anything else you want me to fill in, Savannah? Maybe we just open to questions.
No, that's great. I just want to, before we go to questions, if it's okay, really recognize the significant funding investments that we have seen from federal, provincial governments, local governments, and really a shout out to RTO 7 because they have been so instrumental through this. We are so fortunate to have Bill and his team here supporting our tourism businesses wherever possible. And one of those supports is happening right now through the Tourism Release Fund that they've partnered with FedDev to be able to launch. So I know those applications are due by Sunday, sorry. We're aiming for Friday. So we are busy working on our application for that and just to make sure that everyone else is aware that that fund is currently available. And in terms of the marketing side of things, the shift that we've seen there, Heather has always done a phenomenal job of making sure that we're focusing on businesses and putting together itineraries to move people around. But that's really become the key focus where we don't need to market our green spaces. People know where we are, they know what we have, they're coming for them. We need to then move them from those green spaces to our downtowns, to our businesses, so that they're leaving their dollars here. And that is where all of our marketing attention is now been shifted to, because we have a real opportunity through the digital platforms and through the relationships that have been built between us and our businesses and our municipalities and our businesses to really drive that home. So that's where we have moved in 2022 and will likely very well continue going forward so that we can take some action to be able to at least make hopefully some positive change in terms of supporting the businesses that have been hit so hard through COVID. So the itineraries and that marketing signature events are back and people are excited to be able to get out and to gather. And we're going to dust off our beautiful Gather campaign soon, Heather. We're getting there to be able to bring that back to light. And I won't talk about the tax credit because I know you're going to talk more in depth about the marketing and the tax credit. And then Allison will talk about the ambassador side of things too. But we just wanted to bring the report forward to show you all the good work that is happening, but also highlight the challenges that we are facing. So even though we were very driven to see infrastructure improvements happen right away in 2022, as we're walking through that, we've realized that it is not as simple and as straightforward as we had anticipated. So we will likely need to put those dollars into reserve or carry them forward to next year. So we are absolutely committed to seeing the infrastructure investment side of things happen, but there's some legwork that we need to do first, given what we've learned. So we just wanted to bring all of that information forward to you, and Steve and I are very happy to take any questions that you have.
Savannah, I'm really, really glad you said what you did towards the end there, because when I read your report, I got to say, I was more than just a little concerned. And granted, I'm talking from the perspective of a business that has been shut down for 2 years, but so many of the things on your investment lists were more economic development stuff than tourism stuff. And I just didn't see enough tourism items on that list to make me happy, right? But one of the things that occurred to me, and I just want to emphasize, I realize you did say it, but I want to emphasize the fact that, yes, I want to see investment in green space. And I'm with Steve, right? You go to Hogs Falls, you pull in the parking lot and you go, holy crap, where do I go? So absolutely, those investments are necessary. But if they're not tied to opportunities for local tourism operators, I'm sorry, it's a waste. Because at the end of the day, if we're bringing people here just for the sake of bringing people here, what the hell? So I think what's most important to me is, I want to see more parking at Hogs Falls and others, but what about signage that drives those people to the local tourism operators? And then what is the criteria for that signage and maintaining that signage? Because again, as we all know, tourists are very fickle. If you put one item on that list on the sign and it's closed or it's gone out of business, they're just going to get back in their car and just keep driving. So, I think that a whole concerted effort needs to be made around the signage at those attractions.
Absolutely. And through you, Mr. Chair, that's a really, really good point, Jim. And we absolutely, I hear you. And we agree. We really need to be able to make the connection to local business. The signage is absolutely key. That is one thing that we can do and we are doing right now. So we did bring the updated wayfinding signage plan and policy to council last year that was endorsed, and we can send it back through this group just to make sure that everybody does have that. And we are working right now with our transportation department. We have about $80,000 set aside for tourism signage that is in the works right now and will be installed this fall and then into the spring. So that is kind of where we're sitting right now on the signage front. But you're right, it's very frustrating when you're driving around and you don't know where you're going, especially if you're new to the area, and Google can only take you so far. So the sign and that physical piece is absolutely key, and making sure that we do tie to our local business is first and foremost. And that is a huge piece of Allison's role, is making sure that she's there to support our tourism operators, but also through the economic development side. And that's why economic development and tourism are so closely tied now through our department being one department. We have Jacinda Rudolph, who is our attraction retention, who works very closely around people side of things, and Steve's working very closely with business retention and expansion opportunities as well. So you have that entire department working towards business support that isn't reported through this committee. That goes to our economic development committee, but I'm wondering maybe we need to also bring that type of update here as well. So I will flag that for the future.
Can I just add that one strong recommendation that I would have is greatly increase your use of QR codes. I mean, it's such an easy way to connect tourists to more information than making these great big monster signs. QR codes are simple, easy, and everybody's gotten used to them. 5-6 years ago, maybe you could make the argument that they were still too new for people to use, but in today's world, it's everywhere. So let's use them and get our tourism operators, signed on so that there's more information available to the tourists as well.
Absolutely. Allison, are you doing a little dance? She's one of our biggest proponents of QR codes and making sure that we're able to use them and have them in the proper locations. And I know that was also something that Heather was hugely involved in, talking about the touring responsibly and having the information there was through the QR code side of things as well, because that we can update quickly online. So you're absolutely right.
And if I may, I just want to add that, and Heather may speak to this as well, that we did utilize QR codes to some extent. And we're looking at some ways to leverage that even further, because we too agree that, yes, we recognize that solvency for businesses right now is a huge problem for tourism businesses. And so we want to make that connection between the outdoor spaces and our businesses. So we're very much on track with that, Jim. So thank you. I really appreciate your comments, and I'm glad to see that we're in tune with what Grey County is working towards as well.
Okay, thank you for that report. And then can we just move on to the next report?
We just need to vote on the motion first.
Okay, let's vote on the motion. All in favor?
Can I have some clarification? What is the motion we're voting on?
Sorry, I can read that if you like. That report EDTC TAC 0922 regarding the tourism infrastructure and investment be received for information.
All right, all in favor?
That's carried. So, Mr. Chair, Allison will be presenting the ambassador team discussion, and then Heather Aljo will be presenting the staycation marketing.
Okay, perfect. Allison, I invite you to take the floor.
Thanks, Joel. Thanks so much. So as Savannah and Steve has already alluded to, we're expecting a very busy summer season. things are opening up, and it was very busy during COVID, and we don't expect things to change much from, if not probably increase. So we're going to be reintroducing our Grey County Ambassador Network. And for those of you that are not familiar with it, that's why I just put this chart up on the screen so that you can see what this network is about, because it's really quite awesome. It was introduced by Brian, actually was the one who introduced it when he was there, and we're feeling that it's definitely a great asset for us to use. So the main purpose of this network is it's threefold, really. It's to manage our outdoor spaces, to track the visitation at the outdoor spaces, so we have an idea of the numbers that are going there, and then thirdly, to act as a way to inform visitors who are visiting those spaces about what are the other businesses that are around, for example, because again, connecting those outdoor spaces to our businesses is always top of mind for us, or letting them know about some lesser hot spots that they could go to. So those are the three goals of this network. So if I could draw your attention to the screen, this is an overview of the teams that we expect to have this year. So you will see at the very top, we have the Grey County Ambassador Network, and that comprises of, at the top, the Grey County Roaming Team. And that is our students, actually. And at this point, I'd like to actually introduce one of our students. We hopefully will have another one coming on board very soon, but Grace, would you like to perhaps just raise your hand so everyone can see you? Okay, fantastic. So Grace we're very glad to have Grace return to Grey County this year. She was with us last year as a summer student, and she's returned. So we're really happy to have her back on the team. So Grace will be leading that roaming Grey County team. And what happens is every Thursday, Grace actually meets with the full ambassador network and is able to manage, okay, what are the different spots that each of our teams are going to that week for the weekend, and where can Grey County fill in, so that we are making sure that we can really focus in on those hot spots that might need help. As you can see, we have 7 teams that are part of the network. Blue Mountain Village, it goes on to Owen Sound, and what you're seeing underneath are the hot spots that they've identified. So you'll see that they tend to focus around those areas. We're happy to report that many of our teams have tried to increase their teams this year, which is great. They really saw the value in having this network, so that is fantastic. One thing that we're going to be introducing this year is the use of Survey 123. It's a great app that we already are using at the county, and it's going to be an easier way for the ambassadors at each of their spots to be able to track the information at each spot. So they'll be able to give information as to, are there any problem areas that they observed, the number of visitors. They can even upload pictures if they want to. So we're going to be testing that out. We're at the Owen Sound Farmers Market in a couple of weeks from now. So internally, we're going to test it out, and we're planning to have that app introduced for use by the entire team. So that will be great in terms of being able to have a little more data that we can share with TAC and the rest of the community. Right now, we're capturing everything on an Excel sheet, so that will be a little bit easier to communicate that information. Another thing that I just want to note is that we do have training that we offer to the ambassador teams as well, and that will be taking place at the end of June. As you can imagine, hiring has been a bit of an issue for some of our teams. So some of them are still waiting to put their ambassadors in place. Others are using high school students, so they don't start until the end of June. So we're going to be having a training with our full network, and it'll be a very interactive one where they'll be able to go to the different sites, learn about some of these hot spots, learn about some of the lesser known spots as well, so that they can recommend to visitors when they do meet them and let them know where else they can go, talk about the different businesses that they can go and support. And that will be held at the end of June. So that's an overview of our ambassador network. As you can see, it's, quite extensive. It covers, all of the real tourist spots during the summer for Grey County. And we're really pleased to be reintroducing this for 2022. Does anyone have any questions about the network?
Allison, it's Jim.
Hi, Jim.
Just a quick question. So the lists that you're showing under each team are not exclusive, right? Like there's other places that the ambassadors will be stopping as well.
Yeah, that's good question. So as I mentioned, these are the hot spots that they've identified that they would absolutely, based on the data, because they could have data from what they've observed over the years, particularly last year. These are the hotspots that they would like to be at. So at that Thursday meeting, we're able to assess, okay, where are each of the teams going, right? But yes, to answer your question, it's not exhaustive. There could be other areas that are identified, absolutely. But these are the ones that they have flagged at this early stage, based on the data from previous years. And if did you have a spot in particular that perhaps you would like us to consider, Jim? Is that possibly what you're thinking? Because we'd love to hear.
Last summer, my wife and I had gone with a group of friends up to Thornbury for the day. And we had gone into Thornbury. We were boating up there and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, we went into Thornbury for supper. And I was just absolutely astounded at the number of people that I saw, and I know they were a good portion of them were from out of town, had stopped in Thornbury with the goal to have supper, but they were mesmerized with the fish ladder. And,
oh, yes.
And I got to tell you, the number of people, like in terms of reaching out and having a chance to connect with those visitors, to me, it was such a great spot because, like I say, those people were just mesmerized with it. It was incredible. So to me, spots like that hold some unique opportunity to capture those people that are maybe a little more quickly passing through.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that speaks to the third goal of, creating that better experience for visitors, right? That is definitely one of the goals of our teams. I will say you'll notice that Town of the Blue Mountains is not on this chart. They were not able to secure staffing for their ambassador team this year. However, they do have a system in place where they have their bylaw officers that are available. Not the same, of course, as a tourism ambassador. And I will also say that their BIA and their chamber, the network of businesses in that community are very, very adept at moving people around and letting people know about what else is in the area. But yeah, I would agree. The Fish Dam is definitely a spot that you see a lot of people going to, and it is a good opportunity. So we'll definitely put that on our radar. Thank you for highlighting that and flagging it. There's always a huge crowd, I know, when I pass by, for sure.
Allison, if you could stop sharing your screen, then I can see everyone. Thanks.
You're welcome.
So Allison, I just have a question. So with these different teams, is it so that's the 7? Is that means there's 7 different teams, and they'll all be basically so like those ones that have like Grey Highlands, it's just one stop. I guess that means that they're going to be there less.
Yeah. So Grey Highlands has flagged Hogs Falls as their hotspot, and they would like to have their team dedicated to that area, to Hogs Falls, for the summer. But again, things could change. It's fluid. Every Thursday we reassess And we have the Grey County roaming team that can fill in the gaps. So if, for example, we would like to put a team out at Eugenia, for example, well, Eugenia's, sorry, a bad example, because the Conservation Authority would be at Eugenia. But say there was another area that is not covered by one of the other ambassador groups in Grey Highlands, Grey County could fill in at that area. But to that point, the Conservation Authority does cover quite a few of the hotspots in Grey Highlands as well. You would have seen from the list. Eugenia, for example, being one of them. Did you have some areas that I know, Joel, with Free Spirit Tours, that you see quite a bit of tourists in Grey Highlands areas? So if you have some areas that you would like for us to look at, either now or you can later at a later opportunity, let us know, because we would love to consider them. It's a team effort. It's very fluid in the sense that at that Thursday meeting, we gather together and reassess, okay, where are we going this weekend for the hot spots?
Yeah, great, thanks. Yeah.
You're welcome.
When I was reading, I didn't have them all memorized. Or did you have somebody at Metcalf Rock ever?
Yes, that's one of the spots for sure. Grace is nodding her head.
All right, perfect. Yeah,
this
great.
was
Thanks,
there
Allison.
last year. Yeah, for sure. You're welcome.
I'd just like to ask a question, if you don't mind, Allison.
Absolutely.
When we're talking about Eugenia versus Hogs Falls versus wherever, does that mean that there's always somebody there at Eugenia Falls on let's say the weekend, or is that one of the locations that they may or may not be at?
So those locations are where you would
using those as an example, really.
You would most likely see them, and it's usually on the weekend. Grey Sauble Conservation Authority is a bit different. They have their team out throughout the week. But the other teams are generally there the Thursday through the Sunday on the weekend during the high peak times.
Okay. The other thing that Steve was mentioning is that the parking facility at Hogs is, I can remember when it was first introduced, going along the gravel road there, said, be careful, because the two yellow posts indicate where Hogs Falls is. And there was no parking at all. If we're promoting Hogs Falls and we have a parking problem, how does it get better?
Well, I think Heather will speak a bit to that as well, but I do want to note that from Grey County driven marketing, while we have Hogs Falls on our website and on our Waterfalls map, we're not actively promoting these hot spots. The idea is that we are promoting the lesser known spots. And again, the businesses that are close by to those hot spots, because again, our main mission is to drive business from these hot spots to the businesses. So often, Jim, what you will see is, the Grey County is very popular. We're very blessed to have so many wonderful outdoor spaces. So, Blog TO, the different, Narcity, whatever blog there is in Toronto, they're all talking about Grey County. Everybody wants to promote our product because they know that it's great product. And unfortunately, that's not something that we can necessarily control. But from a Grey County perspective, we can control what we put out. And we do reach out to those companies to let them know that, this is actually a hot spot. Could you perhaps talk about these businesses, these other lesser known areas? And that's the most that we can do. And I think Heather will probably speak a bit about that during her marketing section as well. But
Okay.
I hear you. It's hard when you're just so popular and everybody wants to talk about you. even influencers, I'm sure you see on Facebook and Instagram, somebody posts a picture. I mean, Heather is managing that. You won't believe what goes on behind the scenes. People posting they're at the bottom of the waterfall or they've visited this hot spot. It's a very, it's interesting. It's not as straightforward when you have such a great destination that everybody wants to go to.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. If there aren't any other questions, I'm not sure, Heather, if there's anything I need to do before I move on to Heather.
No, I think Mr. Chair, Heather Aljo will take the next piece on the staycation.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Allison. So I have the great job of marketing Grey County with the team, obviously, but not marketing it too well by the sounds of things. So as Savannah and Steve and Allison have all alluded to, things have really changed over the last 2 years. As we all know, so for the last 2 years, we really only marketed to a local audience. So all of our messages were in local print. We used social media to make sure we were geo-targeting only local audiences. We weren't getting our message out during the last, really, it's 2 full years now, to invite people to Grey County, but we're ready to do that again. It sounds like we have a lot of work, which is good because we have a great team. And as Savannah mentioned, with this new focus on infrastructure and investment, we're really looking at some of those issues you have brought up, and we've been seeing them sort of bubble to the top over the last few years. I'm with Jim. I remember the 2 yellow poles at Hogs Falls when there was no parking lot, and it's funny, you could only fit 1.5 cars there if you were lucky, and it didn't seem to be an issue. And now we have a bigger parking lot, and it seems like we could use 4 more that are the same size. So we are very conscious of how we market Grey County. We are working very closely with all of our stakeholders. And to just be frank, we don't promote Hogs Falls, as Allison mentioned, anymore. Now, when we do simple things like print ads and make posters, and even online, we kind of run it by each other and we go, nope, we can't use that. Hogs Falls is in the background, or let's make sure we don't show that view of Eugenia Falls because it's dangerous to get to that view. Sometimes we use drones, and we have to realize people are seeing that and they want to experience. So we are really focusing on marketing those lesser known areas. There are some beautiful spots in Grey County that don't see a lot of traffic, and there's spots along the Bruce Trail that there might only be parking for 3 or 4, but maybe we can redirect 3 or 4 people that are not having a great experience at a busy location, and they go there and what they see is just as beautiful, and just spread it around a little bit. But our main focus, of course, being the businesses. We know they've had a really difficult 2 years. We need to get those crowded areas and disperse them out either before or after that experience to shop downtown, to explore what's in the villages nearby, eat something, grab takeout, even anything they can do to support the local economy and hopefully add to their experience. I mean, our business owners and their employees are wonderful, they're welcoming, and they're happy to see people come through the door. So if they can have that experience on top of their outdoor what they came here to do, which we know is the main driver to coming to Grey County, is the outdoor experiences. So basically for this year, marketing is back. We are excited. Savannah mentioned festivals and events are back. We've been talking about them a lot over the last few months. We're seeing them all come up. We have almost a major festival or event making its return every month, if not 2, right through October. So that's exciting. We have some promotions, and we wrote a blog about that. So we're ready to use our Environics data in keeping a lot of our messages online. As Savannah mentioned, we are sort of pulling back a bit on print. It's very expensive, as most of you know, and you're just not sure that it's reaching the right audience. And we're being very careful of the audiences that we're speaking to. And we want to make sure that there are those target markets that we have data on and giving them the right message. So Rob, who's our communications manager, and Savannah and our team with Allison, we all had a lot of discussions over the winter and how to approach marketing this year. And really what we came with was, back to basics is almost what we're going with. On our website for years, we've had the headlines, play, eat, stay. which is essentially what we want people to do here. We know a lot of people come here just to play and they drive home, but we're going to really push that eat and stay part of our website or part of our offering. So, I mean, play can mean a million things. It can mean cycling, it can mean paddling with the family, it can mean touring local wineries. That's really up to them. They, like our visitors, they know what they want to come here and see or do. What we need to work on and what we need to encourage is the eat and the stay. So while eating may be dining downtown, it may also be, browsing a farmer's market, a local bakery. It may be catching Georgian Bay whitefish and eating it, at your condo or your cottage. We want to encourage people to stay longer. We know a lot of folks day trip here from Toronto, Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, and we want them to stay longer. So encouraging them to eat, to get downtown, that usually also goes hand in hand with shopping. Again, just spending some more money in our downtowns. And then, of course, stay. We want them to stay longer. And Ontario is helping us with that with the Ontario Staycation credit. So we have been keeping that sort of at the front of our messaging as well. With the Staycation credit, they can apply to get a tax rebate on their next year's taxes by staying overnight in Ontario, up to 20%, I believe, of their fees. And that includes, camping, hotels, motels. There was some question about the rentals, and I'll have to get clarity on whether they can do that with sort of a short-term rental. But we will keep that in our messaging and rotate it throughout our different campaigns this summer. Like, make sure you are staying over, because this is the year to do it if you've ever been contemplating a longer stay. We will be working with local influencers. Again, once we used to have media come up from the city and promote our products, and we're not quite ready to get back to that platform yet, but we know our local influencers are extremely talented, and they've been very thankful for the last few years for the work that we have given them. And we will work with them again this year, and they go out and explore and experience what it is, write about it, and then that helps us build our photography and video assets as well. And it's a great social media presence when it's another voice telling the story. It's sort of a third party giving the experience, showing you what you will get when you're here in Grey County. So we will be working with them again. And of course, giving them a lot of guidance on making sure they are promoting the right things, not going to some of those hot spots, because we need to make sure we're managing that, particularly throughout the summer and fall. We know here in Grey County, our visitation stays pretty busy right through the end of October, even into November. Some locations, really focus on summer and it falls, but we have a really strong fall product, so we'll keep doing that. And us, in addition to that, the next couple of weeks, I'll maybe share my screen. We did create some new billboard messaging, which will be the first thing. Just sort of why my update was verbal is we're not quite launching our campaigns yet. We're just starting to get it ready. But we did get ahead of the game, and Olivia, who's actually behind the controls here with Grey County Comms, designed some awesome billboards. You've probably noticed our billboards were a bit outdated. They've been up for quite a few years. So there's 3 of them sort of at entry points. Clifford on Grey Road 10, just north of Clifford, just north of Dundalk on Highway 10, and then just east of Elvanley coming in from 26. So they will look like this. I will share my screen if that's okay. And you'll have a little look at what they're going to look like. So basically, again, going with that play, eat, stay message. Don't worry, that's not Hogs Falls. That is Weavers Creek, which is, within Harrison Park, which can be a busy spot. But the nice thing about Harrison Park is there's a lot of parking and a lot of space to spread out. And then just highlighting our apple product, which is part of that eat. And then our stay is actually a great little yurt at the a retreat outside of Markdale. So just encouraging people to head to our website or our social channels and plan their visit to Grey with the play, eat, stay message. So have a look for those. They will be going up in the next 2 weeks, weather depending, and making sure we get up in time for the traffic that will be coming through in June.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my verbal marketing update, and hopefully you'll see more of the visuals as we get into the summer season, right through fall, and then we will regroup and look into winter as well. So happy to answer any questions. Wonderful.
All right,
Oh, hi, Patty.
Hi, Heather. Thank you for that. I'm wondering if, what we've kind of shifted to here when we're talking about play and specifically when we're promoting the Apple Pie Trail as well, is driving people to paid attractions where we know then it's manageable. So, I mean, my suggestion would be, if you're looking at play, everybody loves Waterfalls, but we know that that's a challenging commodity. What about, even like Joel's for Free Spirit play is, people kayaking on a river or ziplining on the mountain, or promoting more of those types of activities.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will include them. We're hoping to be posting fresh content each week. We've experimented with the fresh content through the last year or so. And we feel like once a week, like basically it's an influencer or sometimes I write them, the blog goes out and the social goes out, and it will be basically an itinerary. We haven't done itineraries for a while. We used to just give, here's a bunch of ideas of what you can do with this theme in mind, but with the itineraries, we will be pushing to those attractions for sure. And we get paddling questions all the time, and we point everyone essentially to Free Spirit, knowing that again, it's an attraction that it's manageable, it's experienced, and they can help the folks that are interested in doing it. And Blue Mountain, definitely the zip lining and all the other attractions that are there, they're always high on our list, as a lot of people are coming to the area, and quite often they're staying at Blue, and they still call our 1-800 line or email us and what can we do, and we send them right to Activity Central and give them the different options and what's open and what's available. So we will include those. And quite often those, like the Waterfalls and the ones that aren't, a paid attraction or aren't managed, those are the ones they tend to just come up. Like Allison mentioned, they're mentioned in blogs, they're mentioned in all sorts of stories in the GTA, and they see them and they think they're going to a hidden gem that no one else knows about. And they get there and there are 60 or 80 other cars. We tend to get the questions or the requests for what you're mentioning, like where can I go do zip lining? Where can I go do paddling? And we make sure that we point to our businesses for that. And knowing that it is just a safer option for them too. We wouldn't ever suggest they go, rock climbing or paddling or, gosh forbid, zip lining on their own. We definitely point back to those businesses offering the packaged experience. Any other questions?
I have a quick question I wanted to ask. It might be a bit of a sidebar, but we don't have very many campgrounds in and around Grey Highlands or down in where Joel is and that sort of thing. I know it isn't it, and I've been asked that question I don't know how many times when I was involved with the Emporium, and I didn't have an answer for them because they were on the beautiful drive up 13, where do I go? Or they're coming down from 13, where do I go? Is there any discussions at county level that is encouraging some form of campground?
I can speak to that a little bit. It has been a significant challenge. You want to talk about NIMBY comments when it comes to plans coming through. That is absolutely a space. We have seen several really amazing proposals come through from businesses wanting to start campgrounds, small retreats, yurt type experiences. And I don't know that any more than one has actually got through the process because neighbors and residents have been so upset that it has been stopped in its tracks. So that is one of the pieces through the investment side of things that we're trying to work on and help change the narrative. No different than what we're trying to do with affordable and attainable housing conversations. There's a lot of great investment that could be happening here when it's done properly that doesn't get the opportunity to ever happen because there's just a misunderstanding and then it's very difficult to get it through a process. So that is absolutely on our radar, but I don't have any good news for you at this point on it, but we are working, I promise.
All right, thank you.
Heather, I just have a question. When you do, when you bring in influencers and media and whatnot, do you have a way to track like the physical, like, you know, rather than just, you know, we have links and you can track people going to websites and stuff, but do you have a way to track if there's any like physical results of people actually going to those places?
Like based on recommendations from an influencer, is that what you mean? Like the actual business impact of, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not really, I guess is the short answer. We love seeing, we had a lot of it last year on our influencer stories of the downtowns. People would comment, you know, and tag their friend, like, we're going this weekend, or, you know, we went to Flesherton and went to these places. We had no idea this was a new business. So that, you know, excites us, hoping that those really are people actually going. And we saw a lot of that. It probably was a lot of either locals or people with second homeowners, you know, like, we're going to Flesherton or we're going to, you know, Newstead. We had no idea this existed and we're going. But as for actual like business transactions or people through the door, we don't have a direct way of calculating whether that came from, you know, our work or whether it was going to happen anyways or something the business was doing. So short answer is no. Okay.
Yeah, I imagine that would be really difficult to track.
Yeah, we've definitely thought about things like that. Definitely during the holiday campaign, we thought about having some kind of a system where they were, you know, doing like a passport type thing, going to different local shops, or a contest entry. And, you know, COVID sort of put an end to that because a lot of people were doing delivery and curbside, but it's not far from our mind. And we do think about that often, doing some kind of an actual tracking in the businesses to see people going through the door and actual monetary value. So we'll keep thinking about that and how we can get those actual stats.
Great. Yeah, that would be really helpful. I know just from my experience, when our booking form gets filled out online, I have a little "how did you hear about us" thing. And there's certain things like I just from scanning them, it's rare that somebody will say it's from Instagram or something like that. But like those Narcity and Blog TO articles are always like, we see our bookings immediately the next day go up from those kind of things. So yeah, the different types of media and influencers definitely have a different effect, I've noticed.
Yeah, those articles are powerful, and we can maybe add a new one to our list. And our city just posted yesterday about Boyd's crevice just outside of Owen Sound, Steve and Allison. So that has parking for about 3 cars safely also, but we may see an influx there. So add that to our list of places. We thought that was one of our last sacred gems, but go ahead, Allison.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Joel, if you are looking for ways to do some tracking, one good way of doing it when you're working with an influencer is to have some sort of coupon or offer tied to their visit. So that way, people who saw their stories or followed their blogs are going to redeem that coupon because they saw, and that's the only way really that you can track. That's one of the ways that you can track. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great idea. Does anybody have any more questions for Heather? No? All right. So then I guess we have to vote to accept those for information. Is that right?
No, well, they're just verbal updates. So we're good, and we'll capture them in the minutes.
Okay, great. Thanks. Well, let's move on then to the roundtable presentations. So I guess I'll open the floor to anybody that has anything that they would like to bring up.
Yeah. And if I could, Joel, we're looking really for an opportunity for all of our external members who are on here to just take a couple minutes and talk about the experiences that you have, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, because we're really, really interested to know more. And Jim, I'm very interested to hear from you in terms of, you know, you're finally getting back in after 2 years, and what are you expecting? What are you seeing? Where are things going? What do you need? So can we punt it right over to Jim Diebel to start, if that's okay with you, Joel? And then if we can hear from the rest of the committee members, that would be so helpful for us.
Which Jim?
Sorry, Jim Diebel.
Okay, well, yeah, Savannah, I am back in the chair after being away for 2 years. It was interesting going out and doing something completely different. And coming back in here, getting started, it feels like we're starting all over from scratch. We're putting out tours. Diane was in the office the full 2 years, and she kept putting out tours and then canceling them and putting them out and canceling them. And now we are getting tours sold. We even have a few sold out tours coming up. The two big challenges, I would say, that we've had, number one is the revolving door of government regulations, especially as it pertains to COVID, and trying to keep up with what the government wants us to do today versus what they want us to do tomorrow, and trying to answer the questions that the clients have, what's going to happen on our tour. I realize that things, the government changes may have slowed down a little bit in recent weeks, but just trying to stay up to date with those changes has been a challenge. The other big challenge we have is dealing with customers' opinions of not just travel and tourism, but with now the newer issues of high inflation, lower stock market returns, and high gas prices. So the challenges just keep coming. I'm quite sure we'll get some good tours off the ground. We've had a couple of tours out the door already. But I'll tell you, very, very, very strong from customers is we don't want to leave Canada. And thankfully, my company has always had a huge inventory of Canadian product to some very unique destinations. And as such, we at least are well aligned for that attitude. Customers want to get away. I just talked to a lady yesterday, and during the pandemic, she lost her husband. They had big plans to do a bunch of our tours, and she's just decided that, as of yesterday, she's going to start getting back in the planning stages of doing those tours, even without him. So things are starting, but they're far from robust, and they're certainly going to take some time to build back up to where we were. But clients are cautiously eager, is how I describe them.
Yes.
I don't know. Does that kind of give you a sense, Savannah, a bit?
Oh, it does for sure. Is there anything that we could be doing to support?
Well, I've always had a challenge, as you know, being on this committee, from the standpoint that the majority of my business is taking clients out. So my biggest contribution that I feel I can bring here are things that I see externally that work well or don't work well, and then how we can apply them or not apply them in Grey County. I want tourism here to thrive at all costs. And I did have one item that I was going to bring up under other business, but maybe, Mr. Chair, if it's all right, I'll just throw it out now. I still think that one of the biggest things that we as the TAC committee should be considering is, and I've participated in a couple of the day trips that you guys had organized there years ago in 2017, 2018, 2019, where we went around and visited some of the local tourism product. And I really think we should be going back to that. The more experience that we as TAC members are in the inventory of product that Grey County has, the better off we can comment and assist staff, you know, as you guys bring ideas forward. And Allison, you and I had a conversation there. I think it was the last time I went away. I don't remember. My offer still stands. I'm still willing to donate the motor coach and drive it to facilitate that, because I'm a massive believer in seeing is believing, right? So I would like to see us make strides towards that happening again.
That's fantastic to hear, Jim, and thank you for that gracious offer. I know we talked about that. I too believe in the importance of, seeing is believing, and we see that as a really integral part of, the FAM tour as part of the education process for our industry partners. So we hope to have that coming back very soon, 100%.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you said that.
And I'll be calling you.
Yes, talking about that for committees, for staff, for the Economic Development and Tourism Working Group that we have that has all of the staff from right across Grey County in those departments. We normally do to you, and you are always our driver. And we want to get back to that. And we would never ask you to donate because we want to support your business. So that's why we budget for these types of things. It is absolutely in our budget. We finally got it back in there for 2022 to be able to get these tours back off the ground, because we know how important it is to be doing that. So yes, you will definitely be hearing from us, because we have big hopes. We just need to be able to all get together and have those restrictions behind us.
About 5 years ago, the local Rotary Club here in Hanover wanted to do a day trip outing with members. And so we decided we were going to do a Waterfalls tour of Grey County. We didn't get halfway through our tour. And we all decided we needed another couple days to finish it off. Everybody had a fabulous time. We discovered some things in Grey County that nobody knew existed. And it was just an all-round positive experience. And again, we should be, encouraging these experiences. And again, like I say, seeing is believing, right?
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Any other, are you, anything else to add, or any questions for Jim? Nope. All right. Well, let's move on to some other panelists. Does anybody else have anything that they would add to this roundtable discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to put in my 2 cents worth on a couple of things. It's a bit of a sidebar, but over the last 2 years, everybody was in this kind of mode of, what do I do when the things are over? I have now since gone from retirement to a sales manager in Thornbury Meadows, which is an adult lifestyle community that's being developed in Thornbury. And I am amazed at the number of people from all over that have decided that Thornbury is the place to live when you're 65 plus. And I don't know whether or not we should be addressing this as a local community that wants to be much more mobile and looking at various other odds and sods. But it's just interesting talking to these people that all of a sudden they decided at 65 years old that they needed to do something. And I have people that are 91 years old that have decided to move to a community in Thornbury. It's really quite an interesting scenario. So I don't know whether that means anything to tourism or not, but it sure is opened my eyes. I being in that same category of age also.
Great, thanks, Jim. Yeah, I know from my perspective with my business, we see a lot of people coming out in that age category as well, looking for activities to do locally. So that's great. Yeah, any other panelists have anything for the roundtable? I see Sue's shaking her head. There's Patty.
Go ahead,
I can
Patty.
just give an update of what's happening in our neck of the woods, if that's beneficial. So we are back to doing events, which, I mean, we talked about the film festival, but our regular programming in the village with a slightly different twist. We would, pre-pandemic, had themed weekends every weekend with a different focus to drive volume. And we've shifted that to providing entertainment and activities to support people who are primarily coming here to stay, and less emphasis on driving day visitors, although very important to us. We just know that we're going to have capacity issues this year. We are seeing the interest rise, and next week the attractions will open at Blue Mountain, and we'll get a much better sense then. But we know we have to put in 2 portable washroom trailers and have more support on the ground, and garbage and everything else that goes along with it. So we are anticipating big numbers, and we are focusing more of our marketing on the shoulder season. So things like the film festival in the spring. Salsa is coming back the last weekend of June before Canada Day weekend, so the 25th-ish. And that was one of our big signature events that focuses our targets the Latino market in the GTA. So we're pretty excited that that's coming back, and we're working with TLN Television on that program. But in the summer, we're going to be doing very little marketing. We're just going to be managing the volume of people and giving them a great experience. We've learned a lot through the pandemic. We are keeping things like our floating stage. So we're encouraging people to sit on patios, spend money while they're being entertained. So we've changed our programming, and we had some great lessons that we'll carry forward that we had through the pandemic. And then back to fall. Really, our focus is like midweek fall, and to move people around the region. So that's kind of an update from our end.
Thank you. I see Heather has a hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one very important thing I didn't in my update, was just that we are still working very closely through the communications department to make sure our trail etiquette, which was a big PSA last year, and we were calling it Rediscover Responsibly as COVID was ending and people were coming back out. Just, we know as sort of it's a combination of what I was hearing from Jim, Deeble, and Patty, that we are expecting a lot of people coming back to the area. Some people are still a little bit hesitant or like cautiously excited, I think Jim said. So making sure that we are still encouraging people to distance when they can, and again, making sure that they're using the garbage cans at the trailheads, keeping our trails beautiful, safe, doing it responsibly. So we will be working those into our campaign throughout the summer, along with Play, Eat, Stay, as little reminders about trail etiquette and dogs on leash. We have a lot of landowners that still have that at the top of their mind. So just wanted to make sure that we weren't just wiping out that awesome work we did last year. We're going to keep repeating it. We've got it in a few annual print publications, the trail etiquette rules and stuff like that. So just wanted to remind folks again, same with you, Patty, we're going to be seeing a lot of people over the next few weeks. Our phones have been slowly getting busier. People are excited to get out, and we want to make sure they're doing it responsibly and that they're using the proper trail etiquette to keep everyone safe and landowners happy, and a better experience for everyone.
Great, thanks, Heather. Yeah, I'll put in my, I've got some things to say about what we're seeing at Free Spirit Tours. So one of the biggest things that we've noticed, which was anticipated, but maybe not to the level that we had expected, was with corporate groups and retreats and things coming back to the Blue Mountain area. We're seeing a ton of requests for us to do activities for that kind of thing, which is great, to the point where we're looking at hiring some people just to do that kind of thing. So yeah, that's been a big, nice thing to see that kind of work coming back. And that also means that those people are going to be hopefully traveling around the area and visiting some of the other local attractions. So And I do know just from our communications with the folks at Blue Mountain that having not done this for a couple of years and it all coming back really quickly, that there's a lot going on, and they're very busy, and they're keeping up with getting all of that stuff going is a challenge. So yeah, anybody that has anything that that would work with that kind of thing, there's definitely an opportunity there. We're also seeing a return to like bachelorette parties, wedding parties, that kind of thing, which our business is set up well to do that kind of thing. So we're getting lots of requests for that kind of thing. So there's definitely opportunity for people are coming to the area to do those activities, and definitely another area that can be looked into by other local businesses that kind of stuff works with. Although I'm sure they're already on top of it, because that is a big thing. As far as challenges from our perspective, just the same as everybody else has been dealing with supply and all that kind of stuff. I had to replace 2 vehicles, and just finding them, it took me months to find one, and I had to get it in Manitoba, and it was a whole deal. But we're just starting to return back to normal, basically, after making changes to deal with all of the restrictions with the pandemic. Going back to a less restricted and trying to return to the way that we did things before does have its own challenges with increasing capacities and staffing and equipment, infrastructure, all that kind of stuff. But it's good. It's exciting. It means that we're hopefully returning to normal. And any other panelists have anything to add for the roundtable? All right, I don't see any hands or anything. So now, do we have to do anything, Heather, before we move on from the roundtable?
No, you don't.
Okay, perfect. All right, does anybody have any other business that they would like to share? All right, I don't see anybody there. So we can move on. Anything I need to do before we move on?
No, our next meeting dates will be determined. We'll work with Savannah and her staff and committee members for another meeting date in the future. And then if we move to adjournment, you'll just need a mover and a seconder for adjournment and call to vote.
Okay. If nobody has anything else for the good of the meeting, then I will take a mover to adjourn the meeting. Jim?
I shall move.
So Jim Deeb will move, and then Jim Halliday, would you second it?
Yes, I will.
Okay. All right, thank you. So I guess the meeting is adjourned. Heather, is there, yeah.
Yep, just call the vote and then you're good to go.
Okay, well, let's vote to adjourn the meeting.
It's carried.
Looks like
Thank
it's
you.
carried. All right, thank you, everybody.